WYMT Mountain News first at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. First at 4, on the last day of the spring meet at Keeneland in Lexington, a tragedy at the track. Early this morning, an exercise rider was killed while working with a horse. Track officials say 20-year-old Callie Witt was thrown from the horse when it took an accidental sidestep, adding while emergency help already on the track responded almost immediately, she was pronounced dead at the hospital from her injuries.
Joe Sharp described it as being a freak and tragic accident wherein the horse that the young lady was on spooked somewhat, fishtailed, catapulted her in the air, and apparently she struck the railing.
Now, Callie Witt, we're told, is from Nebraska. Keeneland officials say she was a student at Bluegrass Community and Technical College. Today is the final day of racing at the spring meet, as we mentioned, and during several of the later races today, one of Witt's ponies was used as a tribute horse.
A lot more cloud cover around the region compared to this time yesterday. We are still seeing some sunshine, but it's filtered sunshine as of this afternoon. Outside right now, high 64 at Moorhead. We still do have at least a little bit of blue sky there. Otherwise, we are continuing to bring in the clouds into the forecast. I-75 at Mount Vernon, you see a similar story there, with almost overcast skies working in. Pinpoint Doppler, well, we actually do have a couple of showers trying to work into the region. Look back into central Kentucky, just northwest of Mount Vernon. That's where we might have a few showers making it to the ground. Temperatures are mild out there today, into the low 70s for many. Prestonsburg not far from the mid 70s. Dew points, well, they're coming up. For most of us, we're still in the low 40s, so we're not quite there to see the rain just yet. But notice into the Cumberland Valley, with dew points getting near 50, that's when we start to see the potential for some of those raindrops making it to the ground. So go ahead and keep that WYMT weather app handy as we head through tonight and into tomorrow, because we will have the potential for showers and even a few thunderstorms returning to the forecast, with mild lows tonight only in the low 60s. I'll have the very latest on when the showers move in bulk coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Evan, thank you. A junior at Harlan Independent High School was selected as the Kentucky Youth of the Year by the Boys and Girls Club of America. Caleb McClendon was nominated by the Boys and Girls Club of Appalachia to represent them at this year's competition. He beat out thousands of Boys and Girls Club members across the state. But for Caleb, the club has always meant much more than a big win.
One of the club was something that was kind of like somewhere you could just go and just be yourself, activities, work on school activities, and it's just somewhere that it means a lot to me because it's somewhere that I've always been. It's always been part of me. I always have great stories. Always made new friends here that I never met before.
Caleb will now go on to the regional competition in Chicago, where he has the chance to earn $20,000 in scholarship money. He's already won $2,500 in scholarship money from the state competition. Americans have an estimated $1.6 trillion in student debt, and President Biden says he may try to forgive some of those loans at the federal level. But what a forgiveness plan could look like is still up for debate. Members of his own party are asking him to forgive $50,000 per borrower. The move could help Democrats in the midterms, but the president does not appear to be on board.
I am not considering $50,000 debt reduction, but I'm in the process of taking a hard look at whether or not there will be additional debt forgiveness.
President Biden campaigned on forgiving a fifth of that amount, waiving what some students owe for undergraduate studies at public schools, and making community college free. He's not been able to do those things yet, but he has forgiven more student loan debt than any other president. Whatever happens with student loan forgiveness, financial experts warn it could drive inflation even higher. Canceling all federal student debt could increase the inflation rate by 0.1 to 0.5% over a year. The current proposals would not go that far, but Americans are already dealing with high prices. The Federal Reserve says it plans to raise interest rates to control inflation. That has some economists worried about a recession. Well, let's head over to Wall Street now on this Friday, and it is a rough end to the week. The Dow closes down more than 938 points today. We'll have more financial news in our next half hour. New developments in a large-scale recall earlier this year that took 3 popular brands of powdered infant formula off the shelves after several reports of serious illness and 2 infant deaths. We now know a former employee at the Abbott's Nutrition's Sturgis, Michigan plant acted as a whistleblower, complaining about safety concerns months before the recall. The complaint says the employee was fired for raising concerns about poor cleaning practices and falsifying records, and was one of a number of people who came forward. Abbott says it is cooperating with the investigation. Some grim pandemic statistics. CDC data shows 3 out of every 1,000 people in the U.S. have died of COVID since the start of the pandemic. The U.S. has a total population of about 330 million people. During the last 2 years, more than 993,000 have died of COVID. COVID has been especially deadly for people 65 and up. About 3/4 of all recorded COVID deaths are in that age group. The CDC adds COVID was also the 3rd leading cause of death in the U.S. in both 2020 and 2021. And one new study estimates more than 316,000 U.S. COVID-19 deaths could have been avoided during the pre-Omicron phase of the pandemic, and 62% of those deaths were in the South. Researchers from Georgetown cite differences in mask use, school attendance, and other behaviors for the disparity. Mental Health Awareness Month kicks off this weekend. Between the pandemic and the challenges of school and life, there's a mental health crisis among children in the U.S. Doctors say it's something parents need to discuss with their kids. CBS's Michael George has more.
Zeniere Bowery Thomas makes it a priority to talk with her children about their thoughts and feelings. She asked them to say a highlight and lowlight of their day.
I started having those conversations at night with both my son and daughter, and I found that asking those specific questions got a little bit more out of him versus, yes, Mommy, it was a fine day.
A survey from Nationwide Children's On Our Sleeves program shows most parents know it's important to talk to children about mental health, but more than half need help knowing how to start the conversation. Pediatric psychologist Dr. Ariana Howitt directs On Our Sleeves. Its mission, break the stigma and provide resources for families. This month, they're launching Operation Conversation.
It's all about teaching adults how to have conversations with children, conversations in general, building the habit, but also conversations that are difficult. So how to talk about their mental health if you're worried about them, how to talk about current events.
On Our Sleeves has tips to start the conversation and keep it going, and for problem solving and giving advice to kids.
Every day, a time when there's low distractions, maybe dinner time, in the car ride, at bedtime, asking open-ended questions about a child's day. What was the best part of your day? Is there something bothering you right now?
Zeniere says her family has had to tackle difficult conversations, from the pandemic to racism.
When you are trying to stay healthy, you have to take care of your heart, and you also have to take care of your brain and your mental health.
She also models for her children it's okay to express emotions. Michael George, CBS News.
You can go to onoursleeves.org for more information about Operation Conversation. Still to come on First at 4, a new documentary is working to keep attention on certain social issues raised during the pandemic.
And showers are back in the forecast, and they may stick around for a while. The latest details are coming up right after this break.
I'm Hal Rogers, and I approve this message.
Hal Rogers.